the computer. Welcome everyone. Really excited to get started with a new year with all of you. This is our first contributor meetup of the year. Please make sure you leave comments in the chat if you want to participate. We're trying to lock things down a little bit to make sure that we don't see any abuse like we've seen in the past. So that means that it's maybe not as welcoming as it has been, but again, trying to avoid bad adventures, I'd say. So feel free to leave comments in the chat if you want to speak or contribute something, and then we'll get started in a couple of seconds. So I think I see several new names. So my name is Julian. I'm the founder at Unlock. Crystal is here. I don't know if she's here for all of you as well. And then Chris Carfy is right there. Here is the Unlock team. Yes, and so we're excited today to have two presentations. Maybe we'll start with David Layton, and then we'll move to Andrew after David is done. Reminder: the contributor meetup basically is a time for anyone who is building in the Unlock ecosystem to share what they're working on, get some feedback from the team, but from the rest of the community as well. And we're really excited to see some of the project that people have, that you specifically, David and Andrew, have been working on this year. So we look forward to do that. Anybody has question, please let me know. In the meantime, I will give you, David, the floor. And you should be good to go. Let me know if there's anything that's blocking. I think you're muted.
Yeah, I'm good. Can you hear me? All right. Yeah, and you can see me. Fantastic. I'm beautiful, so it's good for that. So I'm David Layton, and you might remember I presented a few weeks back when I did integration for Firebase. That was something I was doing with a client of mine, with just basically the aim of using Unlock in sort of a SaaS environment where we have to protect cloud resources. Like we don't want somebody getting access and then running up a huge bill or anything like that. And I sat down and I looked at okay, well, that was relatively easy for Firebase, and the approach was quite general. So, what would it take to sort of get Unlock everywhere? And when I wrote out the roadmap, I thought, oh, there's just too many things. This is going to take 2 years. It's going to be 2 years of this will take a week to do. This will take a week to do. And then it sort of hit me one thing that we could do to sort of get Unlock into everybody's hands now is to basically have an identity provider where all of the authorization is backed by Unlock. So I looked a bit at OAuth 2 and what it would take to sort of do an OAuth 2 implementation, and looked at OpenID Connect because half of doing it is just identifying a user. And this approach had a lot of really good advantages to it. You do have OpenID Connect is quite the standard, and you have it on just about everything. I want to say everything, but since I haven't checked everything, there's a language somebody invented last week that doesn't have a library for it yet. But beyond that, you've got it, and lots of platforms and things like that. Make it to where you put in your ID and your secret, and it just lets you use it. And I'll show you guys an example of that. But the other great thing about this approach is, you're looking at not just the browser and not just mobile. OAuth 2 and OpenID Connect are used on all sorts of devices where you don't have the same things available to you. You've already got a lot of support in terms of libraries that do things like multi-form authentication. So one of the things I use, I have a Plex server in my home, and then my smart TV that I bought supports that out of the box. And the way that it does it is you you hit the button on your TV and it gives you a code, and then you go into your browser and you put the code in, and it's like, well, that would be really great if I had TV subscriptions that then knew who I was, could read all of the locks that some sort of channel provider had, and then I had access to content based on my identity. And that's the sort of vision that I have for Unlock, is that is as far as I know currently possible. But if any of you guys are out there who've actually done anything with any of the smart TV stuff, let me know, because it requires testing. What I've done also, there's a lot of optional configs, and I might not have the configuration quite right to be able to do that. But you let me know. I flip a few switches in the background, and you can have what you want. So I won't go into a whole lot about OpenID Connect. You'll see from the examples, how standard it really is and whatnot. But yeah, and I'm happy that I answer questions offline about that sort of thing. Cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the URL for Unlock Connect in the background, and that way you guys can go and visit the website if you like. You can sign up. But if you're looking at the page, if you're not looking at the page, what I'll do is I'll just share my screen.
And you should be enabled for this. Let me know if that doesn't work. That's perfect. Ooh.
Fantastic. I'm
I'm
going to be bouncing around a lot, so I'm just going to share this whole screen and try and make sure I keep anything inappropriate off of that screen. So yeah, this is the website. I've gone through a couple of revamps on it, so let me know if there's anything you don't like about it or do like about it. Everything's welcome. It's been a bit difficult, I think, to sort of describe what Unfurl is. And what Unlock is, even to the uninitiated. So I'm just trying to target people who already know what Unlock is, so that I only have half the battle, because you add what it does on top of that, and it's a bit crazy. But the idea is to just make it easier for you to use Unlock for these sorts of applications. And what it does, not only for making that a little bit easier, but just by happenstance, since Unfurl is the identity provider, you don't have to do that for your own website otherwise. So it's a big sort of shot in the arm if you just woke up one morning and said, I don't know anything about smart contracts. I don't know anything about authentication. I just want to sell something. And I want to sell it in crypto, and I want to sell it on a subscription basis. So that's the promise that we're making here. And what I've got is I've got a little picture of a consent screen, and I'm hoping that sort of lets people know right off the bat. Like, if you haven't understood a word I've been saying, you might see the consent screen and go, "Oh, that's what he means by identity provider." So that's hopefully the aha moment. I've got this get started here. You can put your email in, but I don't need an email. There's no need for it. I think, there's not really any need for it. I don't know how privacy sensitive our user base is, our user base for these sorts of products are going to be. So if you're doing a SaaS product, how little information do you want? When we did it when we did the Firebase integration, we made the assumption that would be a barrier to ask somebody for an email address. So we don't even need that. So that box is really just there because I'd like to get a few emails down so that by the time I launched, which was a few weeks ago, that I could just go out and email everybody, which I haven't done. So. So I tried to give a few examples of what this works with. So I put that it works with these wallets because I know that Unlock supports those wallets. So I figured Unfurl could do it, but I only tested it with MetaMask, so I'm only putting MetaMask on there now.
Should work out of the box. Yeah, it should work out of the box with all of these.
Yeah, I'll take those off as soon as I've tested it. Somebody's testing it. So that's one of the things. Is like, if you guys are using another wallet and you're able to log in and it all looks gravy, let me know and I can just put it up there. But I don't want to put anything up there that's not verified. And I put the networks that we have with Unlock. And these are the things that, like, I know that it works with web because I'm doing it with web. Apple and Android, Kodi, I'm quite comfortable with, and I've looked at, there are solutions for Vire TV and Roku, but I don't know the details of those solutions that are on there. I've mapped out how to do it with AWS. I need to do a little more testing around that. But again, if somebody wants to wants to partner up and not just, help you if you run into any trouble. And then we just know, like, I want to be able to, use the community to check these off without having to debug everything myself. Yeah, with the GCP and Firebase, that's what this website's using. I'll get into that a little bit more. And you could use this with Shopify or WordPress. They support OpenID Connect as a platform. So it is just bang it in there. Although again, I haven't actually done it to make sure, I'm fully standard compliant. So it would be unthinkable that it didn't work, but things do happen. And then I've checked that, all of these languages, pretty much every language has a library for these. I've checked these. I've checked them, but I didn't want to put an exhaustive list there. So if your language of choice is not on there, I didn't put Rust on there just to be provocative. Then, sorry, but it's just this one was getting way too out of shape. Then I put, well, we're supporting all ERC20 tokens because, again, we're powered by Unlock, you know? And I've got this nice little powered by Unlock. So, yeah, just to let people know if they come to the website. And I'm not going to go through the rest of this copy, and it's all crazy stuff. But this is, sort of letting you know what you could have on your website. But it's a little bit misleading because if you use Unlock, you don't need to do emails, passwords. You don't need to do your own login with Google. Like, we'll handle all of that. Although the login in Google isn't live yet. But we'll get back to that. Anyway, so if you're from here, you can just hit log in or sign up, or about half these buttons will take you to where I'm going. But you see that I'm logged in. Let me log out real quick and then log in and show you how that works. Okay, look, so what it's doing is it just redirected so this app, this web page, this app, it's a client. It's a client of Unfurl. So what you're seeing is it actually sort of went off and redirected, saw that I was logged in, already, and then brought me back, logged in with Unfurl, the identity provider, and then just brought me back to the client. So that's how your client would look and feel. And I'll show you the 3 lines of code that it takes to do that for yourself. And then what it did was it pulled up my user. So I've got a little example user here. So you'll notice that everything's just rated by. Julian reported that this was a little bit sluggish with his 900 different locks and keys that came back, but we'll address that. That'll be quite fun to do. Also, it might be a little bit sluggish when you go on, like, until people start using it regularly. These are all cloud functions and they get quite cold, so they can sort of turn on. So what you see here is it gives me my user ID. So this is not my wallet address. This is nothing that could be used really to identify me. There's an open question for me, and I'd like to get back from the community, is that you can do pairwise subjects, they're called. So your user ID is your subject in the parlance of OpenID. And you can either do public, or you can do, any particular client can either be public or pairwise. And I, as the provider, can force the clients to be one or the other, or allow them to choose. So the question is, do users want to have a different ID on every single client that they go to, or not? Because if you're privacy focused, then yes, you would say, oh, it's great that Unfurl goes and enforces that. But it could be, for a client, it could be a little bit hectic, because what it does is it creates the ID by hashing their public, what would otherwise be their public ID, with a secret that I have, and the domain of their first redirect URI. So there's technical reasons behind what it is. So if you were to go in and then change that, then all your user IDs would be different than they were before. So it could cause some problems. Yeah. So and it's sort of the sort of thing where I probably want to make that decision before we have a bunch of clients, but we'll see. So yeah, so what you've got here is it pulled back for my wallet. I think I actually have 2 wallets linked up here, but the linking isn't public yet either. And it's pulled back all the keys that I hold in any of those wallets across all of the networks.
That's very powerful.
So which is just linked by right now, but presumably, you would have all four. If you're a real, if you're a real merchant, you want to get out there, you want to be across all the networks immediately, and that creates a real headache. And Unfurl just takes care of that for you in the background. And it's just because it's doing those checks in parallel. Then it's pulled back all the locks. And right now I'm just doing all the locks where like you're a manager, or you have access to editing the locks rather than just locks that you own. Because what I imagine is if you're a larger organization, it wouldn't necessarily be your wallet address that you're linking with where the money comes in, but who knows. So yeah, if anyone feels strongly whether that was a good decision or a bad decision, that's something that we can go and change. But that's what's pulling back right now, and we can limit those things. So I'm going to go down here to connect your app. So this is just what a user would see, right?
So just to clarify, David, to clarify here, this is what you've demoed here is like it's a real app, but it would be if I were to create. Say I want to create an image editing platform and I want to basically log in with Unfurl. The flow that you went through is basically would render then a page on which my application can know, okay, that user has these locks or has these keys, and then can do the next step. Is that right?
Yeah.
And the user is authenticated or logged in a sense that it has a unique user ID, which is the one that you've generated the hash above.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. I just want to make sure that everybody understands it. Like if you're building an application right now, whether it's on iOS, Android, web, Roku, any kind of application, any kind of language, you can use Unfurl as a mechanism. Say, you know what, I'm just going to have an easy login for my users, basically.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yes.
And I'll show a client demo, well, if I have time. Anyway, so yeah, so if I wasn't we'll go what the flow would look like if I hadn't already gone through the sign up process. But this is kind of to give you an idea of what it would look like for your users most of the time. This would be sort of user sort of welcome.
Yes.
Right. And I built this. There's no particular reason to do this. It's just to give them something that they land on. Because otherwise, it was the most anticlimactic thing.
It was empty.
Yeah. Julian got that experience. It was like, okay, so something happened.
Yeah, I mean, I'm logged in, I guess. Like, welcome, you're logged in. It's just like a good first step.
Yeah. So if you then wanted to say, okay, now that I'm a user, I'd also like to be a client. So I'd like to be able to, connect, basically have people be able to log in with Unfurl in my app. So I click this connect your app button. And it says it found my existing app. Otherwise, it would have said, bingo, I did it for you. You guys should really be following along and I'll be signing up and then creating clients. It'll be great. So it gives me my client ID and it gives me my client secret. This is going to be important later. And you just go ahead and give those a little bit of a download. And there you go. You've got those for later. The next thing is actually the first time that I think that it becomes clear what's going on here. Hopefully it becomes clear. Lock roll mapping. That's what we're doing. All right. Authentication is just signing messages for your wallets and your standard connect with Google, connect with Apple, that stuff. This is authorization. What am I allowed to do? So what happens in the background with OIDC and OAuth2 is you eventually get a token, and the token has a few different things about you. And then it has your profile, and in that is your claims. So what we're doing is we're providing a custom claim called roles. And that's going to be based on the keys that you have. Yeah. And this mapping. So if I go into a particular client, what I'm doing is I'm authorizing, as a user, I'm authorizing that client to have information about what I am entitled to based on the contents of my wallets, based on this mapping. Yeah. Yep. So what we're looking at here is these are all of my locks. Yeah. These are all of my locks. How do I want to map them to different roles? So I'm saying, okay, if they buy the basic lock, I want to give them the basic role. So here's my lock owner and my lock address here, etc. I've got this test limited F duration for 9 months. I might want to also give it the basic. I've got my annual subscription pro. I've got all of these. And so this is a many to many mapping. So what you can do is say, okay, well, if you buy a key to this particular lock, you get all of these roles. But likewise, you can also say there's all these different locks that if you buy a key to, then you get this particular role, which is more common, because if you think about it, if you want to have basic, pro, and premium on some sort of SaaS product, like those are each a lock. But then you want to support multiple currencies and multiple networks. So if you want to support 3 different tiers and you want 3 different currencies on 3 different networks, you're talking about 27 different locks. So, but Unfurl is going to basically make it to where all you see is basic, pro, or premium. Yeah. And you don't have to worry about any of that. So
and what I like here as well is like, well, I love the basic, pro, premium is like the idea, if I have a membership to a premium lock, I will still get the role for basic, pro, and premium because they're subcategories, I guess. So you can apply multiple roles to the same key on a lock, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So that's how you can kind of do an onion thing. Where it's like, oh, you have the most important thing. That means that you have all of the other ones above, I guess, or the other way around. Yeah.
And so what I've done here is I've just made it completely free and open so that it's just a many-to-many mapping. So you can do something, far simpler that you want. And it's quite flexible for you to come up with your own model for how it is that you want to do roles. And then what I'm sort of giving here in the examples that I do is just sort of a somewhat opinionated, simple thing for SaaS.
Yeah.
What I will do beyond roles is there's also an idea of groups and memberships as part of the parlance of claims for OpenID, and I will relegate those to things surrounding, say, keys to locks that you do not own. From a security standpoint, I need to deal with those slightly differently because you want to make it very clear to users when it's like, okay, this guy's not associated with whatever this lock is, just to keep things clear to them. But that's for a little bit future. For now, I'm limiting it to you can map those things, and I'll shortly put in some sort of static mapping. So if you want to give like a particular role to everybody who's authenticated, so that you don't have to do something silly like, here's a free.
So you have the no role basically.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. It's not absolutely necessary, but I could see somebody
make it easier. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's like everybody has a role, and it at least is the no role.
Yeah, and also maybe like static mapping for particular addresses. So if somebody can, or particular users, just for things like giving out admin privileges and stuff like that. Next, you go down the configuration. Now, this is the only thing that you need. You need one. You don't need to fill out anything else, so I don't become overwhelmed by the rest of it. You need to give one redirect URI. So this means that if somebody comes in and they are logging in through a redirect, where does it go back to? And that's very important from a security standpoint, because it means that, even if somebody were to get a hold of your secret and spoof you by some unknown means, given that everything's encrypted, they'd still only be able to redirect people back. They'd only be able to redirect the user's information to your website. Yeah. So like it doesn't get them anything. OpenID Connect is very belt and suspenders in that way. So that's that piece of configuration, but there's a lot of other things that we can talk about, and I've linked in here to some of the references that you might find helpful if you want to go in and learn what all of these things mean, but it could make your head explode, so be careful. The last one is probably more likely. Before I move on, there's also post logout redirects that I could see people using. If you have any difficulties, like sometimes this this right here becomes a bit of an issue. There's a lot more. It's a lot more configurable, as you can, if you look down in that document of all the different things that you can do, and a lot of those are the sort of things that you'd need to change for doing things like device logins or a lot of other stuff. We can also do dynamic client configuration, so you don't need to go through this. That there's a standard protocol, so that you don't need a bespoke library or anything to sort of dynamically spin up a lot of different clients and things like that. So the sky's really the limit. But the last thing is branding. You probably want to go in here and say, okay, what's my client name? And I've set this one up as Acme as an example, and you put a URL into your logo and your policy URI in terms of service. And what that does is that configures your consent screen. Some of it is it's programmatically accessible as well. So there will be applications for OpenID Connect where they are using that information. But largely, it's for your consent screen. When that pops up, if we go back to the original screen here and see this.
That's how you build that. That makes sense.
That's why that says Acme. That's why it has
The link
this logo here, and then all this sort of information. And in the real one, there's a link down here for terms of service and privacy. These are it's good to fill those things out for looks professional, that sort of thing, credibility markers. That's it. Okay, go back in because I pressed the wrong button. And I'll be sorting out the UI and things like that. I want to get feedback. There's so much to do. Okay, so the next thing you do, you click, so fill out your branding, give your redirect URI. I'll show you an example here if I've got the time, and then we'll go through that. I'll do a live example just to show you how easy this is. Okay, so what does this mean? So you can integrate with all these things. I've got these 4 examples in here. I'll go through them real quick, but they pretty much all are the same in that you need to tell them auth.unfurlconnect.com, and you need to give them your client ID and possibly your secret, depending on which flow mechanism you're doing. So this will work. This will work as a client server. This will work as just pure client. And you might say, okay, but David, that doesn't make sense. I can already do that with unlock. Like, why would I need to go through all of this rigmarole? And that's perfectly valid. If you're just client only, you might not, but you can still do client only, and then whenever you use a service, you pass down the credentials to them. So any sort of API, you can pass your token down as Ver token and use that to authenticate on a backend server. So this, which is exactly what's happening here, this is a static site that you are looking at. Everything that you've seen, static site, perfectly secure, all done through the browser. And I'll actually show you exactly how that's integrated here in a second. So this would be the sort of most simple example is do client server flow, and you here I've got OpenID Express OpenID Connect library, and it's this line, just that's it. And what it does is that then on all of your Express apps, it will check to see if the person's authorized, and you can put little decorations in to say that a particular route requires a particular role.
So let's, this is amazing, but let me make sure I get things right. So no, go back. It was actually very helpful.
Yeah.
So I do all of the setup. I deploy one lock and I map. Actually, I deploy 2 locks. I'll say silver and gold roles basically, and so I have the silver and gold roles, right? Now my application is a little Express.js application that provides the weather in a location, and the silver people can get countrywide weather. I don't know if that makes any sense. And then the gold people can get a citywide weather. And so my application, then I would use, okay, this is a Node.js, so I would use deploy, set up all of the stuff that we've seen above, get the client ID obviously, and then I would plug the Express OpenID Connect middleware that's actually public library. It's not related to Unfurl specifically, but then it would set up the issuer base URL, the base URL, the client ID, all of that in here. Make sense?
Yes.
What's the next step then? Basically that is on the back end, right? Like, so I guess on the front end, I need to add a button. And what happens on that button? Is that something that's provided by the library or okay.
Well, I'll show you. So that's what I was pulling up. I didn't mean to pull it up over the screen that I was doing. This is a more complete example.
Amazing. Okay.
That I will make public shortly after the meeting.
That's cool.
So here you go. So this is the get on the dashboard.
Yeah.
So what I'm doing is I'm saying if the user's logged in, if you go to the root and the user's logged in, redirect to the dashboard.
Okay.
Yeah. Otherwise, go ahead and just render with this path login. Yeah. And if I go into the actual view in here for that, because that's main. Yeah. So forget, and this is pug. So sorry.
Right. Cool.
So. Woo!
What happened?
I don't know. There's just a red line. Anywho, I did not.
Oh, did someone do that? No, hopefully. I don't think it's a Zoom thing. Do you have this on your screen or is it like just on Zoom?
It's on my screen.
Oh no. I don't know that someone was able to do that.
Anywho, answering your question, you see here, this one's called button. And if you ignore all the classes that I put in because I'm using Tailwind, so if you ignore that, it's I mean, because this is the code for the button. You've got the where is it? The href login path. Okay, which if we go back, if we go back, it was login. So the button is literally go to /login. I
see. Okay, the button is just it stays. Okay, and okay, perfect. That makes sense. And then the login UI.
You just take them to /login.
All right. We've got some penises. I don't remember. I suspend all activity. Okay, everybody. And we're back. This is one of the features of I guess, that I don't know of in Zoom, that I didn't know people can write on the screen. I don't know how to disable that. So I'm going to look at this.
Julian, I've gone ahead and removed the last 2 people that joined.
Okay.
So hopefully that will nip that in the bud.
David, you still the co-host, so you should still be able to back sharing. And I didn't know that Zoom allowed people to write on the screen, which I guess is one of these things. I'm sorry about that, everyone. David, we cannot hear you. I think you're back, but we cannot hear you. I'm gonna ask to unmute. And you're back. Sorry about that.
Cool. Yeah. And I'll start my video back up here in a second. But yeah, so anyway, so this is the more complete example, but what I don't like about it is that 90% of the code is just, rendering, a reasonable looking web page. So yeah, the login is, just give them a button just give them a hyperlink to /login and it's all taken care of. When they come back, you have, see here on /dashboard, you've said, on /dashboard, it's just automatically looking to see if they're logged in, and you can see here where I'm actually getting from the request their roles. So you can see here, I've got this ID claims.roles, and that's it.
I see. So basically, just to make sure I understand. So basically, when the user goes to the dashboard, obviously the middleware, the express thing at the top will check whether they're logged in, and then check whether they have the right role, which is the okay. That I think that makes sense to me.
And then here's where you would put specific roles for specific views. Is this
I see.
And this is just part of the Express OpenID Connect library. There's nothing that I've done. That's the beauty of of it as a provider. Is I don't have to write any of these libraries. They exist already.
Yes.
So there's equally an OpenID Connect for Passport. So you already have that. So if you want to use Passport instead of this, if you want to use Python instead of this, if you want to use any language at all, or if you just don't want to code, which then you don't have to. So I kind of refer to this as like, this is the hard way, even though it's just 10 lines of config, but it's still the hard way because we'll look at browser real quick. Browser's pretty much the same sort of thing. This is what your button would look like. I've got sign in with redirect here. There's also a sign in with pop-up. You can look at how exactly they use this library. It's quite interesting, but it's not as maintained. There's quite a few client libraries for JavaScript. But again, it's just the same thing. It's like I've got a client ID. I've got to tell it the redirect URI that I want it to use, and I got to tell it who the authority is. So that's I don't know why they use these weird words. Sometimes it's called issuer. Anyway.
Okay.
And that's it. And the rest of it's just the only thing that's really custom here about us is I put roles in here and I said, go ahead and give me the user information. But that's all sort of irrelevant. Yeah, you should not be supplying your secret if you're doing it client only, but there's a lot of things where it's sort of, there's a code that gives extra stuff instead of the secret. And then there are things where there actually is a backend, it's just not your backend. We'll look at one of those now. So I'm making gestures toward the camera that I don't have on. So
it's okay.
I apologize. I'm a bit of a, yeah. Anyway, so here's what I'm using. So I'm using Firebase, so I'm using Google. So I'm using Google's cloud platform, and you need these 3 lines of code. So this is how you log in. This would be what is on your button, period. Okay, that's it. That's all. That's
really, really, I mean, interesting and simple. I like that. I still want to, so if you go back to the application, I still want to go, like, where do you check the roles? Like, that's the thing that I missed. Like in your application.
Oh, sure, yeah. So there's 2 ways to do it. There's one is this claims include, which again is just
I see. That's what you showed. Okay, that was the thing that was okay. So basically,
this is the more flexible way to use it, which you do not need this client for. This uses a client underneath for OpenID Connect, which might be the one that I just showed for the browser, but it puts this on the request. So you've got this user sub, the subject is the user ID.
I see.
And then you've got this ID token claims, and then here's roles.
The list of roles that you have defined earlier in the Unfurl UI, basically.
Yep. So that's how you do everything. And you can do the same thing on the front end and it's still secure because you decrypted the token. Yeah. So you can trust the roles that you get even when you get them on the front end because assuming that you're using HTTPS. And you know that you've decrypted the token yourself, etc. And so you can trust that. But then obviously what you do with it then is not secure, unless it's just passing down the token to a backend system. But yeah, so if we look at, so I'll just show you real quick how you would do this from pretty much scratch. If you were using Google like I am, it will be these 3 lines of code. But I'll just show you what it is. So this is a list. I'm not going to go into the one that I'm actually using because it would expose my client ID.
Okay.
But if I go into here, I just click Add Provider. And this is just Google Cloud Platform. As you see it, you can do all of this programmatically. That just wouldn't be as entertaining. Look, here's all the providers that they have. And here at the very top is OpenID Connect. And that's what we are.
Nice.
Yeah, standards. All right, so it's enabled. I've got all these things over here. Do I want code flow or do I want the ID token, which is not as secure? So, and then I just need to give it a name. So I can just do example. And then this is my client ID. So if we go
back to Unfurl and you get it, yeah.
Yeah, you go back to Unfurl and you get it. Exactly.
Okay.
And same thing with your the issuer URL is just going to be that one that I showed. If I pop back to that real quick, it's this one. So we'll pop that in.
Yep.
Yeah, and then we will head back over, pop that in.
The secret that you have from the OpenID from Unfurl, obviously. That is okay.
Exactly. And here it comes back and it gives you, this is your redirect URI. So it gives that to you. So you hit copy the clipboard and then you save that, which it's not going to let me because I didn't put in the
right
thing.
Numbers, but yeah.
So and you put that into here.
Yeah.
Exactly. And make it we'll get rid of these. Boom. I'm in there. Yep.
Nice. Okay.
And then so let's see how you would do your application. So I'm just going to go in here and actually, I might just erase all that and show you guys from actual scratch. But if we go back to here, there's this little thing right here that says setup details, and you copy and paste that. Yeah. And then you go into here, and that's what this is right here. This is just your config there. And then if you go back, you'll see that here's 2 of the 3 lines that I have on the example. The third one is here on an on-click.
Perfect. Yeah. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. I want to make sure that we have time for Andrew as well, and we're
sorry.
No, it's okay. It's really exciting.
Yeah, and I'll just wrap it up there, guys.
And let's open the floor after Andrew for question, or maybe you're going to stick around on Discord anyway, so we should definitely do that. I'm very excited about this. The idea of basically using unlock everywhere is something that that's the goal of a protocol, right? It's like it needs to be everywhere. So I'm really excited that we see people like yourself building kind of core building blocks that can be reused everywhere.
Yeah, I want unlock with like recipes for what are they called? Those smart cookers.
The what?
The Instapots.
Oh yes, yes.
Pot
Oh yeah.
recipe that you only get with your lots. That's what I want.
That'd be actually a
do
pretty
that
cool
now.
hack. Yeah, definitely. I'm looking forward to that. Andrew, the floor is yours. Thank you very much, David. And again, let's stick around for the questions in the end, hopefully, if not on Discord. Andrew, the floor is yours.
All right, thanks, Julian. And I do have a hard stop coming up in 18 minutes, but I'll go fairly quickly. So yeah, that's right. So we're building SocialStack, CEO, co-founder, and what SocialStack is and what we started out as is kind of a easy to use social token platform to enable any creator, organization, nonprofit brand to in a turnkey manner issue their own social token and onboard their community in a really easy to use way that is either log in with email or log in with MetaMask. And so I'll do a quick product demo so you all can see kind of what we built. But really how we're differentiating ourselves is two ways. One is usability. So really focusing on building tooling to enable anyone, which, you know, at the end of the day, 99% of the world is still not crypto native. And so having the ability to log in with email, all the Web3 stuff is abstracted into the background.
Nice.
You know, it's a really easy way to join and participate in tokenized communities. But really the core differentiator that we're looking to take into the space is taking an impact lens. And so when we say impact-driven social token, really the focus of our platform is enabling communities to allow their members to earn their way in through positive action as opposed to buy their way in, like a friends with benefits, for example. So do a quick product demo to kind of ground exactly what that means tangibly. So the way we built the platform is anyone that has a token on Ethereum, Polygon, or Celo can apply for their own instance of this. And each instance is custom branded at their own domain. This is one of the first communities that launched on our platform called Afro Future DAO. And so users can come in here and log in with email or log in with MetaMask. I'm gonna log in with email just because this is my, I have an admin account. And so we're using Magic Link. So if it's your first time as a user logging with email, we create an address for you in the background. And then each time you log in, you basically just get a button that you click and that's what logs you in. And so we built kind of some of the, you know, major functionality that you would need to start the earning and redeeming process within the community. So users see these 6 modules here: news, earn, refer, shop, profile, scan. And then admins have access to kind of the back end to add and remove things. So news is just a very simple, you know, you can post announcements to the community. Earn is really the functionality to allow people to start to earn your token. And so it could be things as simple as subscribe to our newsletter, you know, attend a specific event, or, you know, do a specific charity event or food drive. And so the way it works is users come in here, they see all the tasks that they can complete, and they submit their work. And so that basically means uploading a file, uploading a screenshot, a receipt, kind of whatever proves that the user completed the task. They come in here, they upload it, or they can drop in a link. And then in the back end, users or the admin basically gets submissions and can either accept or reject it. So you can view the attachment that the user submitted. You can view the submission link. If you accept it, it basically triggers the token rewards, and then the tokens appear in the user's balance. And if you reject it, the user gets an email letting them know that the task was rejected. And so in the admin dashboard here, this is where you can basically manage your token supply. And so the way we're thinking about this is any DAO, any social token that leverages this would send maybe around 5 to 10% of their token supply to the token address here in the admin panel. The tokens would show up in the vault balance. And then those are the tokens that are actually earned and redeemed within this instance between the user and the admin.
Interesting.
So earn is the first way users can earn tokens. The second way is refer. And so this is the ability for basically each user to have their own referral link to give to other people to refer them into the instance. And the admin can basically set the custom amount of tokens that the referrer and the referee both earn whenever this happens. And then additionally, you can, let's see. Actually, I think, okay, so, okay, I'm not sure what's going on there. So anyways, so those are the first two ways to earn tokens. The second way is scan. So this is the more scalable way to earn tokens. And so admins have the ability to generate QR codes that users can basically scan to earn tokens. And so you set the name of it, the amount of tokens you earn by scanning it, the amount of people that can scan it, the description that the user sees when they scan it, and then how long you want that promotion to be live for. And then once you generate that QR code, users can either come into the scan, which just opens up their camera, and then they just put the QR code in here and the tokens appear in the balance at the top right. Or if the user just scans it with their phone, then it links them into the instance and then deposits the tokens in their balance and brings up a modal with whatever the admin sets as the description on the back end.
That makes sense.
So 3 key ways to earn. And then the final one is the redemption side of the coin. So admins can basically have a full-on shop functionality where they can, put in coupon codes, NFTs, physical products that people can be redeeming the tokens for. And so once a user actually redeems the tokens get sent from the user's balance back into the admin address.
Nice, cool. On what network is that deployed?
So this one specifically is running on Polygon.
Cool.
So we're live on Polygon and Celo.
Okay.
We launch tokens on Ethereum and Celo, and then help users basically bridge their tokens from Ethereum to Polygon to kind of run within this instance. That's
pretty cool. So let me ask you, like, how do you use unlock here?
Yeah. So the next functionality that we're going to be building out is a leaderboard feature. And so like there's a couple different levers that you have to actually add value to a social token. The questions are really, how can you earn it? What can it be redeemed for? What's the utility of holding the token? And then finally, what is the status that's unlocked within any given community or ecosystem by accumulating more and more of the token? And so really where we see unlock fitting in, what we're working on is basically an iframe that a admin can basically activate a leaderboard instance that can be embedded into any website or really anywhere and be able to trigger achievement and membership NFTs that get sent to a user based on the position that they achieve in the admin dashboard or by completing specific tasks.
Okay.
And so it's really kind of all about gamifying the community with utility-driven NFTs that can be earned by completing impact tasks, earning a specific amount of tokens, and really it's a lever to kind of gamify behavior within the community. So we got the grant. I think we got the unlock grant mid-December, and so we kind of we're in a flurry to get a final push going into the holidays before people got time off, and then every single one of our leadership team got COVID coming into the first week of the year. Yikes. So all 4 of us were out, and so we're running a little bit behind coming into this year, and so we're gonna start building this leaderboard functionality Monday.
Nice.
And that's pretty much all we got, but really taking this angle of pioneering impact to earn, and kind of the vision we have is within this first iteration, we have these private instances for communities to engage and onboard their community members into Web3. The second iteration that we're building is going to be basically one instance that a user logs into and can add all the different communities that they want to be a part of to this one instance. And then the ultimate vision is having an additional modal that we're going to be calling impact causes. And our vision for that is any nonprofit, any cause can submit frontline action or tasks for people to complete to advance specific impact causes. And then any social token, any DAO, any tokenized community can contribute token rewards to that specific movement or cause or impact thing, and kind of, you know, have a full feed of ways for people to earn tokens by doing impact behavior. Because at the end of the day, the majority of the world population are gonna earn their way into crypto. They're not gonna invest their way into crypto.
Yeah. I think that's definitely a good point here. One thing that comes to mind is like on the redeeming side of things, you could redeem memberships that are priced in the currency of the DAO, right? Like you could say, hey, you need so many tokens, and I forgot the name of the token that you had on the specific example, but you need 10 of these or 5 of these to get a membership to some other community or some other lock, which actually could be interesting. Like I can imagine was like, hey, you spend this and you earn, a Netflix subscription for a month, or you earn a YouTube membership. So the idea would be there that you basically use these tokens to get somebody to get a membership for some other thing as a way to redeem the tokens.
So we actually do have that, and I guess I just didn't mention that. So we already have the functionality to redeem the tokens for NFTs in the shop.
Yeah.
And so like a part of the Unlock protocol grant is going to be used to actually like add membership value to those NFTs.
Amazing.
I think the main issue we're like overcoming is if a user logs in with MetaMask, it's non-custodial, just use their MetaMask wallet. If a user logs in with email, then it's a custodial platform. And so we're trying to figure out how do we make sure that like when a user that's using email logs in, like there's a way to actually send the NFT to like a non-custodial address that so then they could like,
Does that address, so on the non-custodial, actually on the custodial accounts, like email account, the user doesn't even have an identity right now, doesn't even have an address at all?
No, they do. No,
okay.
Every user, basically, if it's their first time logging with email, we create an address for them in the background.
Yeah, so you could definitely assign it to them. And the good thing with, so the challenge here obviously is like, I guess it's not a challenge.
Well, the challenge is going to be interoperability with other platforms, right? And so like because it's
I want to log in. I mean, basically, I want to see my NFT on OpenSea, and then even though there's an address, I know it's mine. I cannot use OpenSea obviously to transfer these or something like that.
Exactly. And so, I mean, we're thinking about it right now.
Talk to me, Andrew. That's the problem I've solved here. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Let's meet up later.
Sounds good. I'll DM you my email.
And you're both on the Discord, on the Unlock Discord anyway, so I think you could definitely I mean, I'll make the introduction if needed on the Grand channel. You're both on there, so I can definitely make sure that you see each other. That's really exciting. That's cool. Like, I mean, honestly, that's what I love about the meetup, and we have a couple more minutes, but that's what I love about the meetup is like we get, highly technical presentation like David's, which I love, and then kind of seeing use cases more tangible, especially in the social web, which I think is kind of the next Web3 area to be developed in the crypto space. That's pretty exciting, and I'm really grateful. Want to make sure that the floor and everybody has question. I don't know, Kelly, do Chris, oh, 3 Chris's, or Carlo or Kent, and then the White Hat DAO. Anybody has question for either David or Andrew? I think now is the right time. And feel free to raise your hand, Zoom hand. I don't know if that's the thing. I'll do mine just people can see. Yay. Raising my hand. No. All right. Well, Chris, yep. Chris Kakase, great to see you here. Well, if nobody has questions, obviously, thank you very much to both David and Andrew. It's been amazing to have you both here and to have you in the community. So we look forward to seeing you more of you. I'm sure David will see, guides and tutorials. We should definitely work on some stuff together to tell people how to use Unfurl specifically. And Andrew, similarly, I would definitely invite you to kind of post demos or maybe little video recordings once you have some of these things in the grants channel, in the public channel, in the grantees channel, and we can share them around. One thing that we try to do as much as possible inside of the Unlock community is like promote the hell of people that are using Unlock, because it's obviously, you know, the right thing to do if we want to see the protocol gain even more adoption. And we've seen over the last few days, honestly, it's been mind-blowing the number of people that have been using Unlock for different things that I did not expect. I don't know if you've seen today, but there's this WordPress community out of Spain that's doing kind of SEO and things like this, that's using Unlock for their content, and it's pretty cool, and I'm really excited about that. With that, thank you everyone for joining. We'll have even more lessons in terms of how to do these Zoom things. I have no idea that people can write on the Zoom screen. It's kind of, and I didn't even know that existed. So I'm going to have to learn about this and try to see if I can block that. In the meantime, please take care, everyone, wherever you are in the world. It looks like Andrew is in the warmest of all places. I'm
in a McDonald's in Costa Rica right now.
Oh,
next to the airport.
That's
Nice.
cool. It's not bad. It's a good Wi-Fi there, I guess.
Pura vida, pura vida.
That's right.
Well, enjoy that. People in Europe, I see a few of these. Have a good evening, and let's chat again soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.